All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you on this Thursday night, and it is our distinct pleasure to welcome back to the KMBR airwaves Todd Husak, former Stanford quarterback, former NFL quarterback, one of the best football analysts in the country, and he's with us on the Sports Leader on the UMA guest line. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing great. Excited about the Super Bowl, but also sad that another football season is coming to an end. Just one game left.
I know, I
Um,
know. And
but
then
it's been
all
a
of a
great
sudden,
season and a great playoffs. These playoffs have been awesome to watch.
oh, I know.
Um,
It's incredible.
so I'm excited about the matchup.
The downer is to drive out to Levi Stadium and see a 3-story high mural of Sam Darnold. I mean, that's just how do some people, I don't, to me, it doesn't, I don't look at the Niners as doing anything wrong. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is a dark moment for the Niners. No, it's not. It's not a dark moment for the Niners. They helped resuscitate Sam Darnold's career. They're hosting the Super Bowl. He's on a team where they've got a great run game, a great defense, and he's doing just enough. I think we can over here be like, hey, you know what? Way to go, Sam. But over here, be like, you know what? I think the 49ers made the right decision to go with Brock Purdy, build around Brock Purdy, and to go down that avenue. I don't see the Niners as making a mistake. I know people are saying this proves that the Niners have blew it. They took the wrong quarterback. I don't see it that way.
I don't see it that way either. I think the 49ers are in a very good position with their quarterback for the next 7, 8, 10 years, as are the Seahawks. I think they found a guy at some value in Sam Darnold, a guy that was coming off a pretty good season with the 49ers, a really good season with the Vikings, and they brought him into a perfect situation. There's a lot of quarterbacks who I think would come in and win a lot of games with the Seahawks this year because of the weapons around him, the defense that they have. But Sam Darnold has made some plays throughout the season in the playoffs. He has elevated his game, his decision making. He operates that offense really well. And I think as that team has been put together, you can see, I thought watching those games last week, the Rams and the Seahawks, it's clear their personnel is way better top to bottom than what the 49ers have. Receivers, and again, injuries are a big part of that. You take the 49ers at full strength, at full health, there's some Hall of Famers in there, but the way the 49ers finished their season and where the Rams and the Seahawks are now, both those teams are put together top to bottom with a lot of depth, a lot of top end talent, really good wide receivers, and two outstanding quarterbacks. And Sam Darnold has played at a very high level now for 2 seasons in a row, and he's reaping the benefits of that by playing in a Super Bowl. First USC quarterback to start a Super Bowl. It's crazy.
Wow, that is saying something. Who do you like? Who do you like in the Super Bowl? Do you have a clear vision on this one? I mean, some games I get a feeling for. Other games, I don't have that good of a vibe for it. I kind of like the Patriots here to hang around. I know a lot. The prevailing wisdom is Seattle's going to overwhelm them. But why would a Patriots team that already played Houston, played Denver in Denver, has a really good defense in their own right? Are they really going to get overwhelmed? I don't know. To me, I look at the Rams last week. Corum ran for 6.1 a carry. I think there's a very good chance that New England might have some success running it. And I don't think that the speed of Seattle's defense is going to overwhelm them after what they've seen, defensively in these playoffs. So I like New England to hang around. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't know who's going to win exactly, but I think it's going to be low-scoring and close.
It was interesting. I went through kind of all the numbers and the season stats and where both teams are. They're really even. Both teams are balanced offensively. Both teams have a really good defense. What I look at, the Seahawks over the last couple months of the season have played. They've been the best team in the NFL, I think. But the Rams gave them some problems. The Rams created, I think, because of their ability to push the ball down the field with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, that's where they gave up some points. They gave up 37 to the Rams in the regular season, and then, 31 or 27 last week. I don't see that being the strength of despite Drake May's great numbers, the Seahawks or the Patriots aren't a team that really pushes the ball down the field very well. I think if you're looking at how the Patriots are going to win, they have to protect Drake May. That's a really good Seattle front four, front seven. May's been sacked 15 times in the playoffs. That's a lot. I think Seattle is the much better team. I give the Patriots a lot of credit. The beating those teams that you mentioned has not been easy. And yes, CJ Stroud looked absolutely horrible. They also made him look pretty bad, right? I mean, they give the Patriots defense some credit. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Seattle. I just think Seattle has done it at a much higher level of against a much higher level of competition over the course of the season. The Patriots have had a magical run of they've had to win the games and they've done it. But man, has it been a pretty easy road compared to what the Seahawks had to go through. I think Seahawks are going to win double digits. I think they're a better team top to bottom. I think the Patriots will keep it close at the beginning, but you have to play nearly a perfect game against Seattle because their defense is so good, can create turnovers. They get to the quarterback, and think what their offense can strike big with. They have JSN, they have Cooper Kupp, they have some really good running back in Walker, and Darnold has been making plays and not turning it over. But that defense forces the offense into some bad situations, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think May is going to make a couple mistakes. May has not played his best in the playoffs, 55% completions. Now, again, that game last week in the snow or 2 weeks ago in the snow, not an easy place to play, but 15 sacks and 55% completion in the playoffs for Drake May. That's a tough combo, and he has to play much, much, much better than that against Seattle if they want to hang close.
Yeah, no question about it. He's going to have to really play much better than he's played so far in these playoffs. If they want to win on Sunday. Roger Craig's going to the Hall of Fame, and that will officially be announced later tonight. What do you think? I mean, the original 1,000,000, to me, it's long overdue. I just think it's so fitting that the Super Bowl's here in San Francisco, and they're going to, they're going to remember a player that I really believe they forgot, because this guy deserved to be in long ago. This is one of, if you look at the number of players that are in the Hall of Fame from the Steeler dynasty of the 70s, and then look at how long that dynasty lasted, and then look at the Niner dynasty and how long it lasted, and how they're represented in the Hall of Fame, they're clearly underrepresented, and Rodgers should have been in. And if Walsh hadn't died prematurely, I think he would have gotten him in easily. Instead, he didn't have an advocate for a number of years, and I'm just so thrilled that he's getting in.
I agree. 8,000 rushing yards, 5,000, almost 5,000 receiving yards. Total stud. And people say he was the perfect fit for that offense with Bill Walsh and what he did. Passing game was almost an extension of the run game with all the swing routes and screens and flat routes. So it was a perfect marriage and timing of Roger Craig's skill set, really a groundbreaking offense in what Bill Walsh was doing. But you got to give Roger Craig a lot of credit for his durability. Man, he played. I'm looking at his stats right now. Didn't miss a game. He missed one game in 3 straight seasons. Sorry, one game combined in 3 seasons. And then it was 14 games played, 15, 16, 11, 13. I mean, he was durable. And a guy getting that many touches, that many carries, that many receptions, and a great blocker and a great leader, a guy who worked super hard to be able to stay healthy and produce at such a high level. He was a special running back. Great running back, great receiver. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is kind of that similar mold, what he can do as a running back, as a receiver. And I think Roger Craig, you can define those running backs as like Earl Campbell was this power runner, and James Brown was this power runner, and Barry Sanders was an incredible juke master where he could get guys in space and make them miss. Roger Craig did a lot of those things. I mean, he could run with power. He was really fast. He could make guys miss in space. I mean, he really had a great combination of all those skill sets wrapped into one, and an exceptional receiver. Well-deserved, I agree. It's long overdue because his numbers are great. His durability is great. Leadership, I mean, all the things that you want. And he's represented the Niners organization for decades now as a great kind of ambassador to the community, and happy for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time Pro Bowler, first to go thousand. There's only 3 guys that have ever done it. I mean, it'd be one thing if like 15 guys had done it in the
Right.
last, but no, I mean, it's still it's Falk and CMC and Roger. I mean, it really baffling when you think about all the changes that have been made to help offensive football thrive, and yet nobody's really approached his numbers. It just kind of shows what kind of durability, I mean, that many touches, and to be able to be that big of a part of the offense, rusher, receiver, an amazing player. I mean, really an amazing player, and long overdue for sure. Now, he is on a list with a bunch of other guys. I mean, there's a bunch of other guys that are going to have a chance as far as the non-veterans. This is the list. Tell me which guy stands out to you. Who's most deserving of the Hall out of this year's list? It's Adam Vinatieri, Darren Woodson, Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Frank Gore, Jahari Evans, Jason Witten, Kevin Williams, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Marshall Yonda, Reggie Wayne, Terrell Suggs, Torrey Holt, Willie Anderson. Who stands out in that group to you?
Yeah, I remember there's some receivers where their numbers are like Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt have like almost exactly the same career numbers. It's crazy how similar they are. The way I view the Hall of Fame is, were they at the top or near the very top of their position for a while? I look at Eli Manning, who won a couple Super Bowls. I don't think he ever finished in the top 10 in the MVP voting.
Isn't he like a 500 record in his career?
And that's crazy. Yes, he was durable. Yes, he put up great numbers, 2 Super Bowls. He's going to get in, if not this year, eventually. Who's the only 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback who's not in the Hall of Fame? Do you know, Larry?
Well, I know Plunkett.
Jim Plunkett.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and Eli Manning.
And Eli Manning. And is Roethlisberger in? He's won. Did he win 2?
Roethlisberger did win 2, and he's not eligible yet.
He's not eligible, right? So, Eli Manning will get in, but he was never in the top 10 in MVP voting. That's kind of bizarre. So I look like Larry Fitzgerald, I think, was the top receiver for a number of years. His numbers are crazy. He did it for a team that historically has been awful, probably a bottom 3 franchise in the history of the NFL.
Drew Brees, I think, look at Drew Brees.
I think Drew Brees. Luke Kuechly is a guy that put up crazy numbers.
Huge numbers.
His career, I think he led the NFL in tackles almost his entire career. Like almost every single year that he played, he was in top 3 in tackles for that season. So the guys like that who did it at a super high level and consistently, I think are in there. You're right. Drew Brees and his numbers and winning a Super Bowl in New Orleans, which has been another probably bottom 3 or 4 franchise in the NFL. He turned that place around in a historical time where they really needed it.
Right.
And if you think of the Saints, the face of their entire franchise, it's probably Drew Brees. I don't even think it's probably. I think it absolutely is. So
what Drew Brees did in New Orleans post Katrina, has to be. I mean, I'm sure it is respected in the Big Easy in New Orleans, but it really that should add wind to his whatever statistic. I mean, he's got great stats. He's an incredible quarterback for a number of years. But if there should be anybody who should be pushed over the goal line based on what they did off the field, I would say what Brees did off the field for Katrina at that time. Considering he was a man of means, he was a leader. He took the lead. I think it was absolutely outstanding. So he would get my vote for sure. Gore would get a vote for me for sure.
Yes, I think
Fitzgerald, Kuechly. I like Darren Woodson too. I think Darren Woodson was a phenomenal player. I know the Cowboys had other players. But Darren Woodson was so fast, so good at. He really did change the way defenses were played because he could cover and he was big. He's just a really, really great player for the Cowboys.
You'd put Brees in over Eli Manning, I'm guessing?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree. Darren Woodson is a good player. Like I think where it gets interesting is like Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt, who's, again, their numbers are similar. They both won a Super Bowl. Reggie Wayne was kind of the go-to guy for so long with Peyton Manning after Marvin Harrison. I don't know. It's an interesting. Were either one of those guys a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL every year or for 1 year? Their numbers were great.
I mean,
that's where the debate, I think
was
really
Holt the best receiver on his team? I mean, I think Isaac Bruce was the best receiver, and maybe you could make the same thing.
Marshall Faulk.
Well, you could say about Marvin Harrison. Might have been with Reggie Wayne. I will say this: I have great respect for the guys who do the work and put in the reps, and there's no doubt that one of the most unstoppable things I can ever. If you say what's an unstoppable combo, Peyton Manning out route to Reggie Wayne. They could do it with the lights off, the dark stadium, wind. I mean, he just knew everything was choreographed. It was the most unstoppable thing that Peyton did was the out route to Reggie Wayne.
Yeah, I agree. I think there has to be some historical context to what do you remember about those teams? That's it. The out route to Reggie Wayne and how unstoppable that combo was, and the greatest show on turf. Torrey Holt was a huge part of that. Really a groundbreaking offensive scheme that changed really the NFL going forward and what they were able to do. So I don't know if either one of those guys made the lasting impression though to qualify for the Hall of Fame. It's fascinating. Like Larry Fitzgerald was just physically unstoppable for a decade plus. He was bigger, stronger, faster than pretty much every DB he played against. He's in for sure. So the NFL Hall of Fame is interesting because numbers are part of it. Obviously, baseball's similar with the historical context and where they match up, but I don't know. It's a great conversation. But the names we mentioned, like Luke Kuechly, he's probably the face of the Panthers franchise, right? I mean, they haven't been around very long, but he was the one guy that was an All-Pro for a decade. And so that I think you give him the nod over guys who maybe have great numbers but didn't have the historical impact that a guy like Luke Kuechly has, or the impact on their franchise that those guys had. And Frank Gore, incredible running back, historically great, played for some really good teams, and did it for a really, really long time in an era where running backs they kind of burned out, right? Guys would have an incredible 2 or 3 year run and then just couldn't stay healthy, where Frank Gore had a really good 10+ year run. And I think that has to go. That's another way to judge it too. Do you judge a guy who maybe his top end was way better than Frank Gore, but didn't hang around for nearly as long? Do you give Frank Gore credit for playing at a 9 out of 10 for 10 years? It's an interesting conversation. How do guys weigh the importance of these things?
I actually think I would let them both in. The guys who reach that high level, incredible high level, but it didn't sustain it. Earl Campbell, he's in. Guys who did it forever and accumulated stats like Frank Gore, they're in. You know what I mean? I'm putting them both in. Because at the end of the day, what are we talking about? We're talking about to put somebody in the Hall of Fame, you're recognizing their great career. Nobody would deny that any of these guys had great careers. They all had great careers. And then also they become ambassadors for your sport. And you need more ambassadors, not fewer. And so to me, it's not. Now, I know other people say, it's not the Hall of very good. Well, you do it your way, I'll do it my way. I just think that it's about rewarding the best of the best, and these guys undoubtedly are the best of the best. We're picking hairs if we're going to debate, who's better and who's that kind of thing. All right, tonight is NFL Honors, and the awards are going to be announced. So why don't we go through our ballot, and we'll just give our awards right now.
Great.
MVP, here are your choices. Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, Matthew Stafford. Who gets your vote?
That's a good question. Christian McCaffrey is the most valuable. If you take one way to view it is you take those guys off their team. How many games does that team win?
Right.
The Niners were a 12-5 team with Christian McCaffrey. Without Christian McCaffrey, I don't think they win 6. I mean, he was so critical at a time where they didn't have their quarterback, didn't have their tight end, didn't have any wide receivers, and he carried the load. I think he was the most valuable player. Now, who's going to win it? My vote would go for Christian McCaffrey.
Okay, that's okay.
I think he's going to win it. It'll probably be Drake May because of the season that they had and the turnaround, and his numbers were fantastic. I'd give it to Stafford over Drake May. I think Stafford is a guy who put up incredible numbers, and if he's not on the Rams, they win half as many games. I think Stafford he went through, what was his stretch? 25 touchdowns, no interceptions for like a 6-game stretch, something, a 7-game stretch.
I think they're all worthy. Josh Allen would be very worthy, but I'm giving it to Stafford. So I'll have you down as McCaffrey. I'll give it to Stafford. All right, let's go Coach of the Year. Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Vrabel.
I think Vrabel will win it for the turnaround. I think Liam Cohen deserves it. Wow. And here's why I say that. That is a franchise that has been terrible. Terrible. And the Patriots were winning championships not that long ago. There's still some pieces left of teams that have won, some big games. Everybody expects Jacksonville to be terrible every year. They've just been an awful franchise. And a good year, they win 8. A bad year, they win 3. And they haven't been able to hire the right coach, and they haven't been able to draft very well. And this guy came in very short order and turned that thing around to where Trevor Lawrence looked like a top 7 or 8 maybe 6 quarterback. Like he got the most out of his talent. He turned that culture around. And I say the same with Ben Johnson. Like Ben Johnson did the exact same thing in Chicago, where even Bears fans are like, oh, man, like we have all this hope and they just get crushed. It seems like every year. Both those guys I think are deserving, but I think from a culture standpoint, like at least there's Bears fans. I don't know if I've ever met a single Jaguars fan. Just that the whole hope of that franchise, there's very little of it. And for him to go in and get the play that he did out of the quarterback, out of Lawrence, a productive offense, a really good defense, and gosh, they won a lot of games for a team that has just been historically terrible. So I give a lot of credit to Cohen and the job he did.
Okay, so you're going Liam Cohen. I'm going to go Ben Johnson. I just think that the Bears are losers, and he turned them around. I think it's going to Vrabel. I think Vrabel's going to win it, but I would go with Ben Johnson. All right, how about assistant coach of the year? Vic Fangio in Philly, Brian Flores in Minnesota, I guess. Vance Joseph in Denver, Clint Kubiak in Seattle, Josh McDaniels in New England.
I think Josh McDaniels did a great job. I really like the defensive. Vance Joseph did a great job in Denver. I mean, for a team, I think the Denver turnaround is maybe the most impressive one because they basically changed their entire franchise. They had given the keys to Russell Wilson, and then in comes Sean Payton. He basically cuts Russell Wilson. They have almost no cap space, and he does a great job on defense. But the reason I say McDaniels in New England, we had a conversation. I don't know if it was you, but we talked to Matt Castle, and he said the best coach he's ever been around was Josh McDaniels because he makes things easy to process and understand for a young quarterback. And you look at Drake May, and I think one of the trends in the NFL is it's really hard to get high-level play out of a young quarterback consistently. You see guys come in and maybe have a one good season like Mac Jones did, who made the Pro Bowl his rookie year, and then fall apart. And you see more instances of young quarterbacks just flopping and not understanding how to get it done. Caleb Williams in year 1 couldn't get it done, but in year 2 with Ben Johnson made huge strides. But I think McDaniels, what he did with a young quarterback and some young running backs,
young O-line,
not a young O-line, and not a great wide receiver. Stephon Diggs is good, but not like Puka or JSN. And to play that well on offense the entire season is really impressive. And you can see why he's gotten some head coaching jobs, but some guys are meant to be coordinators and not head coaches.
He tops out as a coordinator, but I'd give it to him as well. I like him. He'd get my vote. Comeback player of the year: Stephon Diggs, Aiden Hutchinson, Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott.
I think CMC for what he did and coming back off an injury and leading league in touches and almost getting there to 1,000 and what he did with very little help around him offensively. Uh,
He
second,
deserves it. He
close
deserves
second
it.
is Trevor Lawrence, just because his career has been so terrible. But I'm going to give it to CMC. That's a little bit of a
Yeah.
homer, but
No, I think CMC, I mean, he was the only guy who stayed healthy all year, and he was an amazing player all the way through. All right, defensive player of the year. Will Anderson from the Texans, Nick Bonito from Denver, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons.
it's hard to give it to Myles Garrett just because Cleveland's season was so tough, but at the same token, he doesn't have a lot of help around him. I mean, setting the sack record, I think you got to go with him. Bonito is a difference maker. I remember seeing him in the preseason against the Niners.
Yeah.
That guy is a big time difference
He's getting
maker.
my vote. I'm going
Yeah.
Bonito.
Yeah,
Bonito was a force all summer. All summer against the Niners, and then of course all year. I mean, Bonito's had a great.
Without
year.
Bonito, I don't think Denver it gets the number 1 seed. Without Myles Garrett, maybe the Browns are less terrible, but yeah, I think the impact that he had on that team for Denver and made them the number 1 seed. Bonito's a good choice. I just think Bonito would be my choice, but I think it's going to Myles Garrett.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
How about offensive player of the year? May, CMC, Puka, Bijan, JSN.
JSN is such a difference maker for that Seattle offense, and I know they have a strong run game, but he kind of came out of nowhere to be unstoppable. That one-handed catch he made against the Rams, that's one of the greatest plays I think I've ever seen. To extend to that ball stuck to his hand, it didn't look real, and then get his feet down. Puka actually has better numbers than JSN, but I think the impact that he had to get them to the number 1 seed, it's such a luxury to have a guy who can win every single time he's out there and win on deep routes, short routes, catch everything thrown at him. He's great on third downs. He is a complete wide receiver. And we've seen it from Puka. We had not expected that from JSN to have that breakout year, and you give it to him because they were the number 1 seed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's JSN. I'd give my vote to JSN there. Defensive rookie of the year: Abdul Carter, Nicky Manwari, James Pierce Jr., Carson Schlesinger, Xavier Watts. It's a tough one.
I'm going Manwari, and even watching the tape of Seattle, especially as the season went on, and what Manwari allows them to do, like he was responsible for Christian McCaffrey, and I mean he flies around sideline to sideline. The other guys, I think you are aware of, and they've had good seasons. Manwari, you have to prepare for. If you're an offensive coordinator, you got to know where that guy is, and you are scheming with him in mind. That's how big of a difference maker I think he was for that team, and he makes the players around him better. He's super versatile. That guy is going to be a big-time impact player for a long time. He's long. He's super awesome. Fast. He can get to the quarter. Like, what can he do?
No, the guy covers tons of ground. He's a strong side backer. He's a corner. He's a safety. He's fast. He's awesome. Yeah, I'm giving my vote to him. And I close second would be Xavier Watts. He had a great year.
Yeah.
He's got a great instinct. Maybe Raheem Morris can bring some of that Billy Bowman, Xavier Watts safety magic to the Niners, or Jalen Walker, James Pierce edge rusher magic to the Niners. But they were all good. But I'm going Nicky Manwari.
Maybe he can bring those players. That'd be nice,
that'd be incredible. Offensive rookie of the year: Jackson Dart, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, Teteroa McMillan, Tyler Shuck. This one to me is easy.
Tet McMillan.
I'm going to Emeka Egbuka. I know he may have slowed down at the end, but in the middle of the year when the Niners played them, God,
he was awesome.
This guy's he's like a 5-year vet as a rookie. All the nuance to everything he does. I'm an Emeka Egbuka guy. I mean, they're all good. McMillan's been good for sure. Dart got a lot of talk about him, but I'm going Egbuka.
I think McMillan, with a lack of weapons around him, Egbuka was awesome, especially early in the season. He was unguardable. I think he slowed down a little bit, where McMillan really didn't have much of a slowdown in an offense that wasn't very good, yet he still produced consistently week in and week out with a quarterback that isn't nearly as good as Baker Mayfield. So McMillan's, I liked him. I liked him maybe the best out of all those receivers in the draft last offseason. I thought he looked really good this year. He's going to be a heck of a player.
What's your read on the Niners? We'll finish up on this. What's your read on the Niners' priorities in the offseason? I mean, they've got a bunch of needs. Heck, you could say they got 8 to 10 to 12 different needs across the board on both sides of the ball. I mean, they've got a need almost everywhere. But what do you view as the most pressing, or the thing that you would really like to add to their mix before next season?
A playmaking wide receiver who can stay healthy. I still don't know if Pearsall's that guy. We just haven't seen enough of him to know where he can win one-on-one and just stay healthy. But the offensive line has to be better. Again, you watching the NFC Championship game with the Rams and the Seahawks, I think it's almost depressing because those guys are really good. Outside of Matt Stafford, they're pretty young, and maybe Devontae Adams, but those rosters aren't going to see a ton of turnover over the next couple of years. Both teams are really good up front on both sides of the ball. And that the Niners are not healthy. Yes, they have some playmakers up front with Michael Williams and Bosa coming back, but those two teams are built up front and have two outstanding playmakers at wide receiver. Each of those teams, their second wide receiver would be the Niners wide receiver one. So I think those are the positions: offensive line, receiver, and you can always add a defensive line piece. But really, the biggest offseason need: stay healthy. Get a new trainer in, do something where it's not another season of debilitating injury reports every week, where you're having to go to your fourth guy in the depth chart or picking guys up off the street in week 17 to come play. And that was the other thing about the Rams and the Seahawks. Those teams were healthy in the NFC Championship game. That's a luxury when you have not just a really loaded roster, but everybody playing healthy. Niners have some things to shoot for, but those are my three areas: offensive line, defensive line, and a playmaking wide receiver.
Last one for you, Mac Jones. Shanahan said, hey, I'd be very surprised if Mac Jones wasn't back here. And yet when you look at the market for quarterbacks, the draft is barren. The free agent market's worse. There's a very good chance that Mac Jones is maybe the second best quarterback available this offseason behind Fernando Mendoza. We assume Mendoza's going to the Raiders. There's talk that the Vikings want Mac Jones and a bunch of other teams. And I'm not surprised by that at all. What do you think? Do you trade in Mac Jones for, a couple of picks and a player and get down the road? Or do you keep Mac Jones as maybe the best backup quarterback in the league? He's very affordable at $7 million. This is a tough call because, man, if you take away Mac Jones this year, the Niners don't go 12-5, and maybe there's a lot of unhappy people about the regime. Instead, Mac Jones fills in, you go 12-5, you go to the playoffs, and suddenly it's like, people are still very positive about the regime. So sometimes getting rid of a useful quarterback can be quite painful. What do you think? How would you play your hand of cards with Mac Jones? He's very valuable on a supply and demand deal this offseason, but he's also very valuable to you.
If I'm the 49ers, I am scouring the league looking for somebody that Kyle Shanahan thinks he can develop into the next one. And here's where the 49ers have an advantage. If you're at a point in your career where you're a young quarterback and you have talent, but it hasn't worked out for you with the team that drafted you, or you're bouncing around, maybe your third team, the Niners are a place where you can reinvigorate your career, be around great coaches who are going to make your career. We've seen it now with Darnold and Mac Jones, great turnarounds. And so I would scour to try to find a replacement for Mac Jones. If you don't have anybody, I do not feel confident with the guys currently on the 49ers roster that they would be like Rourke and Adrian Martinez. Find somebody else that's bounced around that you feel like can come in and become a reliable backup quarterback, and then get what you can from Mac Jones. Because I'm with you. If the Texans have Mac Jones, they're probably in the Super Bowl
right
now. if the Vikings have Mac Jones, they are in the playoffs. There's a few if you're the Raiders, do you take a chance on Fernando Mendoza, who I think you can pick out some pretty glaring deficiencies? Or do you bring in Mac Jones and draft at another position of need, because they have a lot of needs?
They could go Arvell Reese, trade a second-round pick in Michael Mayer for Mac Jones, and start Mac Jones.
Yeah, right. And so I think you have to maximize the opportunity right now, because worst case scenario, it's the best case scenario for the 49ers next year, but Brock Purdy stays healthy. You don't need Mac Jones, and he leaves next year for nothing. And the 49ers need as much either depth right now or draft capital to continue to build their roster and add depth, which we saw this year is badly needed with all the injuries. I think having Mac Jones is a super luxury, but there's too many positions right now where they can upgrade. And there's some teams right now that the supply is low. The demand is there's not 10 teams that need one, but there's a handful who are willing to pay for it. And I think you're in good position right now to have that luxury and the motivation of other teams around the league. So that would be you don't want to get rid of them before you've identified a guy that can come in and you think be your number 2 next year and feel good about it.
We got a great offseason ahead to talk ball, the draft, free agency, the combine, the whole thing is straight ahead. Todd, thanks for jumping on KNBR, man. We always appreciate you.
My pleasure. And did you see they announced 49ers in Melbourne, Australia next year?
There we go. Are we going to the Big E? Are we going down under?
I already reached out and said, is that considered a home game? Because I only do home games. And the 49ers said, no, technically it is a road game.
We might have to
I will not be going to Melbourne.
We might have to make the road trip anyway, just to go check it out. Have you ever been to Australia?
Stanford played Rice in Sydney when I was doing the Stanford football games. And so I got to go with the team.
Wow.
I had 6 days and almost no itinerary. And I was actually there with Matt Castle's brother, Jack, who's a good friend of mine who happened to be there for business. It was an awesome week. Sydney is one of the top 5 cities I've ever been to in my life.
Really?
Absolutely awesome. Beautiful, great weather, friendly people, great food, great nightlife. Like it was rocking.
I have to check it out. Todd, thanks again for coming on KNBR. We appreciate you.
My pleasure, Larry.
Todd Husak. More straight ahead. It's Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader.